Good morning again, everybody. It is October 2nd. Welcome to the Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. We're here for our monthly market update. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group, and I'm here with...
Andrew Blake with Royal LePage. Take two.
And Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with Dominion Lending Modern Mortgage Group.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Better now that we're actually up and running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your week? How was your week?
I've been campaigning all week, so my week's been all about campaigning. I'm running for director at the real estate board. And then also lots of meetings because the team, the Vibe Collective, has had some major changes to it. So working on building that team up, and also
are you getting another
as it
agent?
contracts, we need to expand it. Yeah.
What does that mean? As it contracts, you need to expand it. Tell me more.
Well, this gets okay. Sure, I will tell you more. The BCFSA, the BC provincial regulator, of course, requires that a team has more than one person on that team. And as you know, Jane, Briar Hill Group for years was yourself an assistant, but now the team rules require two agents to be on that team. When one agent leaves and leaves you with no other agents on your team, then your team is no longer in existence. So my team is no longer official for now.
Oh, gotcha.
So actually this Vibe Collective down below, please ignore it. There should be a big cross off on it. It doesn't exist until such time as we get more people on the team and build it up again. And then we apply for the team.
Yeah, it's one reason to have three people on the team, actually.
I know. I think it's one reason it gets me on a rant about legislation, because there should be some maybe off-ramp time or ability to have like maybe a month or even 2 weeks, because sometimes people leave a team really quickly because things don't work out. In this case, there was some lead up time, but you also you don't want to just bring anybody onto your team, so it's about right fit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry about that. That does happen, though. It's happened to me a few times, and it's so you know what I put in my contract with people that they have to give me time.
Of course. Yeah.
To find somebody else. Anyway,
thanks for asking. And we're working through that. So lots on the go.
Alrighty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been busy. It's definitely been really busy, and I'm enjoying the change with the fall weather. And I always like the cozy season. So.
Yeah.
The cozy season.
Yeah.
I went for a walk today. The dog, my neck's really stiff from not working out as consistently. Anyway, beautiful rainbow on the horizon, and I'm about to head off for a week to REMAX convention to learn all about professional development and how people practice real estate across Canada. So that's exciting.
You're going to the East Coast.
Oh, right on.
I'm going to the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So away we go. All right. So let's.
You're going to be there a little too early for all the fall colors, right? Or is that? I've never seen the East Coast with all the fall colors. I hear about that for Ontario. I'm assuming it's also the case for further east.
Yeah, I went to school in New Brunswick. I did my teaching degree there, and I'm think it's quite warm there still. So I don't know, because they're affected by the water coming up from the Caribbean, right? So it's a little bit warmer there in the fall, a little more moderate. That's why they get so much snow. All right, let's do the show, baby.
Okay, on we go.
All right. So we're going to be talking about our monthly market update, but first we're going to talk about Jen. How are our finances doing?
Yeah, nothing really big change this past week. We're definitely seeing some 3-year fixed rates under 4%, which is nice. And the 5-year is kind of hovering just above 4%. I thought I would share a story of a recent refinance that I did for a client, where what can happen when you're doing a mortgage refinance, or what a mortgage refinance is when we are potentially paying off debts, utilizing the equity that you have in your home to pay out debts or
Pay off the RV and pay off the boat.
yes,
the,
consolidate cash flow, that kind of thing. What can happen, especially with a long weekend or a stat holiday, at the end of the month, lenders have lots of closings, so mortgages that are set to fund. I recently had one here that was supposed to fund on September 29th. Of course, September 30th is a holiday. So it didn't fund on September 29th. It funded on October 1st. So what that means is then there is 2 more days of interest charged to the client. So where does that money come from? Well, obviously it comes from the client and can create a shortfall if we don't add in a buffer. And having been doing this for a long time, I'm very thankful, especially when we're trying to close around a long weekend or a stat or end of the month. It's always good to add in a little bit of a buffer so that there is no shortfall.
I think too, and maybe you can speak to this, because I was just talking to a colleague who was running around a little bit also because yes, there was the Truth and Reconciliation holiday, and that was on the 30th. So that really, a lot of people make their closings for the end of the month and don't always think about every holiday, and they don't always check their calendar. So some realtors, and this realtor, for example, had put in closing dates for that date, and then they had to make all the changes and make it all work. So suddenly there's some scramble because they weren't checking their calendar, and some of these things sneak up on us.
Yeah, I mean, September 30th. Oh, sorry, Jane. September 30th is a relatively new stat. I don't want to call it a holiday, but a stat,
yes,
right?
Thanks. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. It takes a bit, and lawyers are closed on the 30th. So.
It speaks to putting all the holidays in your calendar on your phone, so that when you're searching through to write the contract, you look at that and it's right up front.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
so
also a Google search away, is such and such date a holiday?
Yes.
What does a buffer mean, that you built in a buffer?
I just added in a couple extra $100 just in case. So when we're determining, so this one was a mortgage, call it $700,000. I made it for $701, just so that worst case scenario, best case scenario, the client's going to get a check for, call it $1,000, or that money is there to just cover any interest if it's delayed a few days.
Cool.
It's an interesting little secret sauce that I've not heard of before.
There we go.
And it's probably the most stressful thing when you're a realtor is you find out that the funding hasn't come through. It really is very stressful.
Or there's a shortfall. Like that's the other thing. Like, you do all this work, you get everything set up to pay out all these debts or whatever it is. And, the client has to come up with, $1,500. Well, they don't have $1,500. That's why they're refinancing. So, right. So we want to avoid that.
Okay.
Or they may have the 1,500, and just maybe you can speak to this. Maybe they've got the 1,500, but they need to come in or somehow get it, and time is there's a crunch for time. So having that buffer just lets you rubber stamp it and move on, as opposed to having to do damage control.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about the weekly stats. So, Andrew.
Yeah, so we watch week over week what's been happening in the Victoria market in the last 7 days. 318 properties went live on market versus 296 the week before. And we had 147 properties go pending in the last 7 days, as opposed to 114 the week before. 165 price decreases versus 163 price decreases. And of course, because this straddled the end of the month, many more expireds than we would normally see, 145 in the last 7 days versus 58 the week before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that gives us a list to sale ratio this week of 46.23%. So that's less than what we've been seeing. And last week it was at 38.51%. And I do think at the end of the month, a lot of people start making decisions. I know that I did with a client on a couple of properties. And so we entered into contracts of purchase and sale.
Mhm.
All right, net unconditional sales are 554 for this month compared to 571 for September
So we're talking
of
about September here.
2024. Yeah,
Same month last year. Okay.
same month. Yeah. And then new listings, we ended up with 1,554, and that's compared to 1,441 last year, ending up at a total of 3,694 for the end of the month. And that's up quite considerably over last year, 3,362. So we're seeing more inventory.
We're seeing more inventory than last year in terms of over the last few months. It's been now sticking around that 3,700 for the last number of weeks. I think it's not been. I mean, we thought it might tip up to 4,000 at one point, but it did not, and it's certainly not come down under, 3,300. So
Yeah. We're looking steady, babes. All right, so let's look at the monthly market update. Andrew, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So again, cyclical. We see the total active listings go up and down every year, with a big rise up in the spring, a peak in the early summer, bit of a drop towards late summer, a bit of a bump again. And you can see last year's cycle is actually pretty close to typical, although maybe you would see the first bump a little bit higher, I'd say, in a typical year. And so here we have a similar kind of effect happening, where we saw the run up in the spring for 2025 to a peak there in June, and some falling off in terms of the actual active listings. Keep in mind this number, there's always new listings coming on the market. There's always listings being taken off the market because they expire or sell. So this number kind of just shows us the temperature, I guess, kind of the market. But we do see people choose to list less at certain times of year, and we see people tend to buy more at certain times of year. So this is kind of a metric with two different stats within it. But again, we see sort of a drop off through to August, and then a bump up here in September of active listings. But our active listings, we were just talking about that number of 3,600, 3,700. It is on the rise, and will probably rise again over the next month, and then begin to drop off like we've seen in the past years.
We're so wise now.
Well, we have stats.
Yes. Stats.
Just knowing the rhythm of real estate. So it's funny, when I was, I was thinking today how I used to look at the value of homes, and specifically I had a rental home, and because we were living at a school, and I remember watching how the value of that home went up and down over the year, for when we were in a very steady market for a number of years there, and just realizing like it has to do with what else is out there, what's comparable, and where do you rank in terms of the rest of the sales. And sellers are concerned with the number, but realtors, when they're this was my epiphany, realtors are concerned about the ranking. Where do you fit compared to the other, what else is on the market, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. So I want to using The Chosen as an example, where it's a smaller market, and say there's 3 properties that are currently listed, and all of them are dramatically overpriced. And then you list your property and it's a little bit overpriced. You actually have a much better chance of selling for more than value. Although, buyers tend to be educated and knowledgeable, but if somebody's looking in that particular area and your property is the only choice, and it's still
reasonable,
quote, overpriced, you're going to be viewed as reasonable. There's always somebody willing to sell for less, and generally speaking, I think that the market, finds its balance. But you're going to find ups and downs based on that. Based on, were there 3 people that were really motivated and just sold their homes for, maybe under market value, and now you're trying to list your home at what you might consider market value, and you can't really argue market value because 3 sales just happened that essentially state what market value is, even though those people
Yeah.
have been motivated and took less than they could have.
Yep. Yep.
So
It's
timing
like
is everything.
timing is everything. Yep. All right. So this is showing the same flow. You can see in the upper total new MLS listings. So not total, but the new MLS listings and how they vary throughout the year. So we definitely see a spring market and we see a fall market, and we're following that pattern again, although the numbers do seem a bit higher than last year. And we can also see that, we did have the lull of the summer after a robust spring, and it looks fairly steady, actually. And we're going to see that in the individual statistics for the 3 categories. So we're just under 1,600 new listings and just under 600 sales. Andrew.
So I just want to speak to the fact there is a bump in September. It looks like a bigger bump than we might have expected. And I was just talking to a colleague as well, and I know there are some people who are thinking like, hey, there's just been for first time in a while, there's been an interest rate drop. There's another one coming, potentially, or hopefully,
Yeah.
fingers crossed. So I think I'm going to wait right now until that interest rate drop, and then I'm going to get my property listed so that I can take advantage of this imagined new buyer interest. So there's that. I think that's maybe a real piece of people. Maybe we're waiting for this first interest rate drop, and then there might be more people waiting for some of the others, and definitely people waiting for spring. Jen?
It's a bit frustrating, the wait. Like you're always going to be waiting. Right. You're going to lose out, in my opinion, if you wait. I don't know. It would be a good debate to discuss further, because there's so much that goes into each of these interest rate decisions. The current outlook is that they're going to drop, but what if they don't? What if one of the reports comes in that inflation has gone way up due to something, then all of a sudden they're not going to lower rates, and this, crazy pent up demand is not going to happen. So
I feel like a lot of people waited till exactly what Andrew was saying. A lot of people waited till the fall for the market to pick up. And so that's why we have so many listings right now. Everyone was waiting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think if you wait and you wait too long, you can't predict, unless there's a really clear indication the market's going to pick up, and there's a really clear argument for waiting. As I like to say, use like the fishing analogy, you're not going to catch a fish without your hook in the water. And if you are waiting to list your home for that imaginary future buyer, but you do want to sell your home, maybe now's not a bad time to, put it out there. There is strategy, there's discussions to be had around the timing, but if you're planning to sell, there's so many more factors to it than what the interest rates are doing, or what the large pool of buyers are doing versus the pool for your own property.
And you also have to look at what's happening in late fall. So, what is the motivation of people who are on the market at that time? And what is the motivation of the buyers who are on the market at that time? So they differ throughout the year, right?
Yep.
So people are more likely at the end of the year to be more motivated, but for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Andrew, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say is, I think, did you adjust these numbers? Because, or has it always been this buyers at 17%?
That's new based on what the real estate board is saying.
Yeah, so good. So I'm glad that's reflecting that, because I was going to say, we're starting to see more of an opinion that, we traditionally were saying, a balanced market was at a little bit of a higher percentage point range, and a seller's market was higher yet. But we're finding now that actually, it's interesting. This slide doesn't show the left hand, which actually shows the percentages. That first bar, I believe, is 20%.
Yes, it is.
so the first bar here, the first level. So we're just above a 20%. So we're still in a balanced market technically. We are and as we've said and been saying for a while, we've been more on the buyer side of balanced. So that's something just to consider. Balanced just generally means there's not a lot of pressure upwards or downwards on pricing, but it
Mhm.
does indicate that there's more selection for buyers. They can take their time. They're a little more picky. So sellers may still be able to overall argue for their price, but because buyers are still buying, but they still have to be competitive.
Right. So when I'm looking at this, what I'm seeing is that we're in a very steady market, and people are trying to play, I guess, the market a bit, and really, like, the buyers are not really having it.
I mean, sellers are trying to play the market. How are sellers trying to play the market, Jane? What are you alluding
Well,
to?
the waiting for the interest rate to go down, and then
I
trying
see.
to see what the reaction is, and pricing a bit high to maybe negotiate down just in case.
Yeah.
And buyers are like, sorry, because the buyers are coming from the mindset of the past 5 years where you would pay more for asking, or
Mhm.
in the past maybe couple of years you pay at asking at the very most, and now the
Now it's their
sellers,
turn,
now it's their turn. There's a,
the buyer's
you
turn.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's
think
been
so.
it's been a while. The buyers deserve some love, but the sellers too, remember what they paid for their places, and especially if they bought, in COVID at the peak. That's a really hard pill at this time. And the main thing to keep in mind is if you're buying and selling in the same market, even if your home has gone up or down, if you're buying a similar home in a similar market, you're just taking that equity and moving it over.
Yeah.
So there's strategies on all sides.
All right, so let's look at our 3 different categories.
It's
So
really flat.
it's really flat. Yeah, so we were at 1.35 2 years ago. We have been hovering around the 1.3 mark. This is average for Greater Victoria, so of course it's going to vary depending on your neighborhood and the product that you're selling. But we did peak in April, and I think this is based on sales. So to me, the peak actually probably came in February. The actual pending date came in February, but the closing date came in April.
And
That's all.
we speak to this more with townhouses because there's less townhouse sales, so differences in pricing of a few sales, like some really low or some really high, can really make this chart jump around a lot. But it is possible that in April there was a $15 million home sold that just
Yeah.
bounced the average. It's there's things that can happen to bounce this average around. So you kind of want to squint your eyes and blur things out and try to see what's the overall general feel here. Let's
I like doing that.
okay, sure, you go ahead. Tina's doing the what's that from, the
Kill Bill or something.
oh, it was Kill Bill. I was gonna do the blue steel look and all that. But anyway, okay. Never mind. Moving on. Just forget. We just rewind. Start again.
So condos are not doing so hot. They
No.
have, relatively speaking, if you look, they peaked in February, and they have come down pretty steady from 650 at that point, which is where they were 2 years ago. They also decreased. So I'm seeing, what I'm seeing is that there's a bit of a peak in the market in the winter for condos in terms of pricing, but we're heading down. Last year we were fairly steady, but yeah, we're around 550 now.
So we were heading down also in 2023, down to again a low in December, and then it bounced back up again. And we do. Anyways, the condos are a funny one. I think there's some opportunity in condos, or we're nearing opportunity point for condos because
Talk
they
about
are
timing.
soft. Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Tell me more.
Well, I mean that compared to steady single family home pricing, with interest rates lowering, more inventory out there of condos being built right now, there's a lot of selection. There's opportunities to purchase at a relatively distressed price versus a few years ago. And it feels like that cannot go on forever. People need housing. Condos are a great source of shelter. And I know location is really important. And location is one of the things that's been impacting this is the downtown core is not as attractive as it once was. But things do go in cycles, and just like prices rebound, so does desirability, and so does the vibrancy of the downtown core and all of those things. I think that I just feel like there's some opportunities there for people who are, willing to put some money into investing, and that's going to turn around at some point.
For buyers, yes.
For buyers,
yes.
Yes.
The other thing is anybody who bought a condo in the past 2 years, you're going to have to wait to get your money back, because right now the price is just not going to be where it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So just understanding that. Yeah. Okay. So, and then row townhouses, we always talk about this. So 2 years ago, we were at 800,000. We've been hovering between 8 and 850, and we're slightly above that. And as Andrew said, we don't have a ton of inventory in the townhouse market. So that's why the numbers can vary like they did in December of 2023 and January 2024. Just depends on what's sold. And so we're more affected by the ups and downs. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty. So you know what? That's the end of our stats. If you have anybody who might be interested in this, please like this post. Please like it. And don't forget to subscribe, comment, tell Andrew how attractive he is, share a comment about the intelligence of our good friend, Jen Lowe. And of course, don't forget to ask us for any real estate advice if you want some. And how do they reach you guys?
Yeah, I am Andrew Plank, Personal Real Estate Corporation, formerly of the Vibe Collective. And you can reach me at 250-360-6106. We are going to be back and better than ever, by the way, folks. And you can email me at info@andrewplank.com, and you can also check out the website, andrewplank.com.
All right. Jen?
I am Jen Lowe, mortgage broker with Dominion Lending Center Modern Mortgage Group. I can be reached at 250-217-4925. Email jen@jenlowe.ca and website jenlowe.ca.
And I'm Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. And you can reach me at 250-744-0775. You can email me at jane@briarhillgroup.com. Visit us on the web at briarhillgroup.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at realtyteacher_Remax_Victoria. And
so we're on every Thursday at 9:30, unless we're running a little late or have technical difficulties like we did today.
It happens.
And so please tune in, Greater Victoria Real Estate Show. Set your watch, set your clock, set a reminder. We're also available for download. You can find us on YouTube or on the various podcast channels. So definitely please check us out. And if you have a particular topic you're interested in, looking to get some feedback on anything, please, reach out again with your suggestions. We are totally happy to have something to dive into and speak to. And if you want to be a guest as well, please reach out, because we love to have guests as well.
all righty. Take care, you guys. See you next
Good
week.
to see you guys. Thanks.
Nice to see everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.